It's fair to say Lauryn is a big enough girl, and if I'm on my own with her, now before when she was younger, yes, I could manage it, not now. I was having to lock myself in the kitchen, the living room, the bath, wherever I was, I had to lock myself in because Lauryn was attacking me, and she has no fear for self-harm of herself. So it's trying to control the arms, legs, head, everything that's coming at you. And it's hard as well. She's very vocal. People outside in the street could hear what was going on. People who don't know us as a family could hear what was going on, thinking it was the other way around, that Lauryn was being attacked. But she was so frustrated. She didn't know what was happening. We had nowhere to turn. There was no services available at all. Every phone number you rang, it was only for emergencies, but we weren't classed as an emergency. There was no respite. There was nothing. So there was just me, her and her dad and her brother stuck in here having to deal with the challenging behaviour that Lauryn presented. So every day you get up, you didn't know what you were getting up to. And you just willed the day to go fast, so it was bedtime. Nobody wants to say that they medicate their child so that they're normal or typical, but Lauryn is medicated to sedate so she doesn't have behaviours, because all the other services has been taken away. I mean, she didn't have any occupational therapy, she had no speech therapy, she had no therapies at all the things that were done in school, all taken away. So she had nothing. One minute she had all these things all together, and then she had nothing.
Hi, well, my name's Rachel Logan, and I work for the Children's Law Centre, which is an independent charitable organisation which deals with promoting and ensuring compliance with children's legal rights. My own job within the organisation is that I'm a special educational needs and disability representative. So I represent vulnerable children and young people and their families. We do deal with a wide range of children's rights issues, really based on the fact that children shouldn't face discrimination in their lives, and that their best interest should be the primary consideration when decisions are being made about them. The Department of Education issued guidance for vulnerable children, and under that guidance there was a two-step process. Essentially what it boiled down to, in theory it was a good process. A decision should be made on the basis of a multidisciplinary assessment. Is it in the child's best interests to be at home or to be in school in a supervised education placement? So Lauryn was entitled to that multidisciplinary assessment. It was clearly in her best interests on all the evidence. I mean, her parents were having to restrain her daily in the home. People were being injured on a daily basis. The child is being medicated with strong drugs to try and keep her sedate. It clearly was not in her best interest to be left at home for 6 months without support in that situation. So the best interest test, if it had been followed, would have said yes, she needs to be in a supervised education placement. Or if that's not possible because of the risks, then some other alternative should have been looked at. Now, I can't help but note that there was great speed in putting legal restrictions in place, but not the same agility when it came to putting legal protections in place and complying with those. And I was extremely disappointed that all of the collaboration that the Children's Law Centre tried, and Tina herself is very proactive and very capable parent. She tried everything she could. And the long and short of it is that Lauryn didn't get any educational support throughout the lockdown. And my real concern was that in the middle of all this, someone's human rights were being damaged. Lauryn's human rights were not respected. She didn't have a proper family life. Her family life, I don't know how the family kept together through all of these stresses and strains, and the family had other things to worry about. There was a close bereavement in the family during this time, and there were health issues in the family during this time, and Lauryn was in huge distress. And as a beloved member of the family, her family wanted to keep her happy and safe, and they weren't unable to do that by the state's inaction. And I think that's unforgivable. We've started out from a position where there is a high degree of failure of legal compliance in relation to the special educational needs and disability frameworks. I would go as far as saying there's actually been an epidemic of disability discrimination in Northern Ireland over a long period of time. And this is because there has been a lack of accountability within the system. It's also really down to a lack of resourcing and a lack of transparency in the operations that are happening with special educational needs. So we're finding a very large number of children and young people and their families are coming to us saying, nobody's listening to me, nobody is complying with my legal rights. I've asked for a statutory assessment of my child's needs. I've asked for a statement. I'm not having any communication. I'm being ignored. My child is struggling. And the systems that are in place, there's actually quite a robust legal framework already in place to deal with this, but there's a very high level of non-compliance.
Yeah, it was tough. And I think that's what scares me most about another lockdown coming. I mean, can I do that again? I don't know. I don't know if I could do that again. So.
Currently, the Children's Law Centre has 3 judicial reviews filed in the High Court in Belfast. And those are awaiting processing. They're in the early stages. And that's largely because schools are open and children are in school again, but they could become very urgent again next week or the week after. So essentially the basis of our 3 judicial reviews is firstly that the government, and in this case the Department of Education, has failed to comply with statutory equality duties. And that's really about asking the questions, what will the impacts be if we bring this policy forward? What will the impacts be on vulnerable groups? Protected groups who are protected by law. And the only way to answer that question is to do a full equality screening that involves asking the affected parties, what will happen if we do this? Or what happened to you when we last did this? Tina, I'm sure, will be able to tell you she hasn't been asked. And a lot of our parents will be able to say the same, as will the likes of the Children's Commissioner, the Children's Law Centre, and other stakeholders that work to protect young people. We're also bringing our legal cases on the basis of human rights, because these families have had their family life completely almost destroyed. They haven't been able to have normal family interaction or family time or family life, and their private life has also been interfered with. And as well as that, they're suffering discrimination. So the right not to be discriminated against is a fundamental human right. And finally, we are taking cases on the basis that decisions have not been made in the best interests of children, and the voice of the child has been silent in relation to these processes. And those rights are protected under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child and the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
I just add in, if it wasn't for Rachel and Dr. Angela Raw, I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation. Rachel and Dr. Raw have been my saving glory. So thank you so much, Rachel. You know how much I appreciate everything you've done for us.
Well, you know how much you inspire me, and I really respect you, Tina. You're a very strong woman. There's not too many like you.